And good Saturday morning from beautiful Waynesville, North Carolina. And welcome to the Tuscola Mountaineers football show, the Jonathan Crompton show, on Saturday, the 26th of August here in 2023. Good morning, Chuck.
Good morning. Great.
Good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning.
Not a reaction for a coach who won Friday.
So, anyway, long day, hot night. A really hard-fought football game between two tough-minded physical football teams. The Mountaineers pulled out a 29-23 victory over Polk County last night down in Tryon. So, John, did you get any sleep?
No. Just going to be honest with you.
Okay. Congratulations, bud. Congratulations to your kids. More importantly, what a football game. And before we get going, I want to say welcome to you got to get this stuff out of the way before we start talking. Welcome to our sponsors, Crompton's Auto Mart, 1256 Dalewood Road, CromptonAuto.com, and Orchard Coffee, 39 Depot Street in Waynesville. And Jonathan, I think, is now officially on his second cup of Orchard Coffee. And Chuck's got his big shipment that we sent him down in Winston-Salem. So we're looking for 2 more sponsors. So contact me if you want to sponsor here on the Tuscola Football Network. So anyway, 29-23. A heck of a football game. It was 95 degrees at kickoff. And
it was slightly warm.
And absolutely no wind. And we're gonna kind of break this thing down a little bit, but 95 degrees at kickoff, and my goodness, get the kickoff, and you take it straight down the field, Jonathan. Tell me a little bit about that drive. 73 yards and 7 plays.
Oh yeah, I mean I script the first. Well, I won't tell you how many, but I script the first part of the game every game, different formations or certain type of runs or passes we want to see, just to see how the defense is going to adjust, if they adjust at all. And good thing is our players know the plays, what we're going to run to begin the game. We walked through it we talked about them on Wednesday, walked them on Thursday, walked them on Friday. So they know what to expect in the first possible, depending on how the first drive goes, maybe drive and a half, possibly 2 drives, depending on how we do. So it was good. We executed well and kind of did what we wanted to do on the first drive. Change things up, get a little mixture of a couple passes, nothing crazy, and run the ball effectively.
And they threw the ball, ran the ball. I think the surprising thing for people at this point, Chuck, is everybody thinks that the Mountaineers are going to, throw it 50 times a ball game, and and they ran the ball in there well, and Langley, big 14-yard run for the touchdown. Those kids up front on that first drive, those 5 guys up front just dominated the line of scrimmage.
Well, again, another good performance on Friday night by Gavin Langley. Wanted to know about the scripting. Did the weather take into, to affect? I mean, the weather's going to be the weather. Both teams playing it.
Yeah. And it's not just picking random plays out of a hat. We'll say it that way. It'll next Fridays against McDowell. Scripting will start today. So it's a long process to get to where we need to be for the openers. To me it's a fun process because you're playing a chess match with yourself, predicting what they're going to do and how they're going to react to certain formations or certain motions or all that. That's kind of where we're at, in that sense. But yeah, The weather, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about weather. I would rather have hot and humid than a downpour. We'll say it that way.
Well, you definitely got what you wanted then.
And by God, it was hot and humid. That's for sure. I'll tell you.
And so they come back and drive the ball down the football field, 26-yard field goal. Hey, their special teams are good. Their kicker's really good. And so they go back down, and it's we had a little botch snap on our extra point, so it's 6-3. Get back and have a little error on the punt, and their short field, they get another field goal. Our defense kind of held their own there to keep them out of the end zone.
Yeah, and our defense bowed their neck, and kind of put our punt team in a bad situation because our top two long snappers were both out. So it's one of those that, depending on the down and distance where you're on the field, do you just take a chance and go for it? That was 4th and 7, I think it was. Not the ideal situation to be right near midfield, really on our side though, on our territory, to go for it. So we kind of hand tied there. Unfortunately the snap was high, but at least we didn't just give up on the play and give them a cheap 6 points on a fumble recovery. So at that point, that got to eliminate those mistakes. But the positive side of it, at least we got 3 snappers.
Well, that's exactly. I was going to ask you a question. You would think, okay, we got a problem with our long snapper, but I didn't know the 2 guys were out.
Yeah, we were down 2 long snappers, and 2, short snappers, so to speak, for field goal.
What's the name of the kid that stepped into? I mean, give him credit. He stepped in.
Gavin Langley stepped in for punt, and Sam Decker stepped in for extra point and field goal.
Good for those 2 guys.
So it was. We weren't sure how it was going to play out all week, so that was decided a little later in the week,
right,
on them going. So I mean, they, for what they were asked to do in the short notice, they did do a good job. It's tough to go out there and perform when you haven't been asked to do it. It is. So that's good thing is, like I said, we didn't just give up on the play. Christopher Wells jumped on the ball. We got to practice more on sudden change and being ready for shots after a play like that.
Great.
So, overall assessment of the first quarter, and it's if I remember correctly, at the end of the first quarter, we're down 10-6 when we're changing. What is your overall assessment of the quarter itself? And I keep going back to this.
Outside of a punt snap, we did everything we wanted to do, and they couldn't move the ball. It just, so one play you go, oh man, we're losing. But in reality, it was nothing that anybody did but us. I mean, and it was one play. But if you go back to the old cliche, 5 plays determine a game, but you don't know when those 5 plays are.
Yeah.
So like I said, outside of that one, I mean, legitimately, we moved the ball wherever we wanted to move it. A couple penalties on that second drive with another false start. We've got to keep harping on it because we got the look we wanted, and if we don't get a false start, there's a really good chance that plays a touchdown down the field. So it's just little things, and that outside of that, we did exactly what we wanted to do in that quarter as far as offensively moving the ball and defensively putting them in an adverse situation.
So you're feeling good at the switch, regardless of the score. You're feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the score is not always indicative of the game. The score is not always. You can't. I mean, if we get the ball on the 20-yard line, I expect us to go down there and score early in the game. If we get first down on the 20, so that we got to make sure we don't put our defense in that situation. But overall, I'm feeling really good after the first quarter. The first 2 weeks, nobody has stopped our offense but ourselves. I'll just say it that way.
That's a good point. That's true.
So go into the second quarter, and really another really good drive. And again, the kids up front kind of took control. You're running the ball, you're throwing the ball, and Jed's feet are going to be a difference maker. They are a difference maker.
So they're not my secret weapon, are they? Keyword secret doesn't work that way.
No. And 8:50
I tried to keep them a secret for as long as I could.
Yeah, 8:50 left in the quarter, and get a touchdown, and we go up at that point. Tuscola's up
14-10.
14 because we went for 2, so we're up 14, 14 and 14-10, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
Yep.
And again, this is a thing that if you saw my Chuck's trying to keep me, because when we do this and we do the other stuff, I'm not your dad. I'm just the guy. But at the stadium in the seats, I guess I'm your dad. And if you saw those texts to Chuck, y'all would fire me from here.
Well, good thing is you can't fire yourself.
So anyway, we got control of the game at that point. The whole second quarter, the Mountaineers are in control, offensively, defensively, in every way. And Chuck, again, Chuck, I want you to interject as we go, but they were on their heels. They were tired. Their 2 best players, their receivers, are difference makers, but they never leave the field. And on our drive, as we're going to go in towards halftime, we're wearing them out. And they could hardly function. I mean, 90-something degree weather, and those 2 kids were worn out. They're their guys. And kind of take us through, and Chuck, interject. I apologize for talking so much this morning, but kind of interject as we go about that drive if we have the ball and going in before halftime.
No, I mean, when we're bigger than you and we're going to bully you. No, there's the simplest way I can say it. If we're bigger than you and I know you're tired, I'm going to run it right down your throat. And that's the mindset of our guys. We don't have to throw the ball 75 times to win. Right? Don't get me wrong. That's fun. Genuinely. But we don't have to. Right? So that was the mindset, is once I find a formation, and this goes back to what we started to talk about at the beginning about scripting the plays. Once I find a formation that I know you don't adjust to, then I don't have to leave it now. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right? And I found my formation early on last night that they didn't adjust to. I'll take my big boys over your not so big boys any day of the week. And that was the mindset of that drive. We're gonna run it. We're gonna run it. We're gonna run it. We're gonna make them either fall out or burn timeouts. And it's just sometimes that's part of football. So that was, I think our guys handled that situation well offensively. It's we were laughing about it, or not. I'll take it back. We weren't after the game. We're laughing about it. It's all every time you go to Polk, it's like a force field around the stadium. Your headsets go out, and this is not this. It's just I think it's the air. I think it's the service in the area where they live. Headsets go out. Like our headsets didn't work half the game, so communication's down. Houston McCracken's in the box, and he can hear me, but he can't talk back to me, and he's stressing out because I get slightly animated with the referees, making sure that they know the rule book, stuff like that. So and I'm saying all that to say, once we get into a groove, well, I'm just going. I'm just calling it. So
well, let me stop you there though. So we're down in red territory.
Yeah.
And and then things happened before halftime, and kind of go through that scenario with us giving the ball back to them.
Okay, I mean, part of the game.
Yep.
Football's football. You know what I mean? There's not much you can do about it. And we got to do a better job of understanding that they are well coached, but they have one guy they throw the ball to. One. And he's number one. And that's what we stressed all week was they're just going to throw a 50-50 ball, throw it up. And, kudos to him for outrunning everybody, honestly. Say our guys didn't like it because halftime was not fun. I'll say it that way. But they got the message and short, sweet, to the point. And, like I told them, we're going to halftime adjust every game, but we didn't need to halftime adjust. They didn't adjust. Our stuff's just right where it needs to be. Offensively and defensively, we just got to alignment, assignment, and execute. And that's kind of how that played out.
Jonathan, speaking of halftime, did you were addressing some issues with your team, correcting some behavior, let's call it. Were there adjustments at halftime, or were you locked in? Or what happened?
This game, and I'm not saying that in that way. There was no adjustment needed, especially at halftime, because, like I said, once we find a certain formation or motion or tweak to a run or, a pass concept during the game, if it's in the first half, then we may not need to adjust. Nothing that they did in the first half was something we didn't practice, we didn't talk about, and or have tendencies to know what they did. And the 95 degrees and humid. I'm just glad we started pumping these guys full of Gatorade legit on Monday. So we didn't have when we still had a good amount of cramps. But if we wouldn't have done that, shout out to all of our parents on our team for dropping off.
Yeah, tell that real quick, Jonathan, what you told me last night about the parents. Tell me.
Well, yeah, we've got such a great group of parents. I mean, the liquid IVs, they brought by a couple boxes of those you dump in water, just electrolytes, that we could bring with us on the bus and for halftime. And so guys wouldn't cramp, but all week, I mean, literally every day, excuse me, parents dropping off cases of Gatorades, waters, just to make sure that we're hydrating all week because we knew it was going to be hot and humid. So thank you to them, because if we don't have that this week, we probably would have had everybody on the team cramp. I mean, genuinely, it was that humid there last night.
Jonathan, I got a question regarding the heat. I know both teams played in it, but does that take, as you're going, does it take into account how you call the plays and how John Austin Chambers calls his defense, that you guys got cramping? Do you back?
I would like to say no, but it's also trying to think how to word it properly for you. From our side, no. But if I find a player that's cramping, yes, then I'm going to attack him. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like in the pass game or the run game, obviously, and I think everybody should. You want to go at that player because they're cramping before they actually have to come out for a cramp. And I would expect everybody to do that to us. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I would say no. But if you, hypothetically, I'm just make up a position. If you get a right defensive end that's cramping, they're probably going to run outside zone at him because he's already tender at that point. Same thing if one of our DBs is, I'm expecting, hey, we should probably be aware they're going to attack that DB on certain routes because you can tell he's cramping because he's limping. But with that being said, kudos to our kids for fighting through cramping. I mean, heck, KJ Vang, I tried to pull him out last night and he looked at me and said, I ain't coming at the game. And he was limping on one leg late in the third. I mean, you can't coach that hard.
No.
I mean, you just really can't. And then middle linebacker Jeb Gardner goes down with a cramp. Carter Purvis gets called up on Wednesday this week and goes in there on second and third down. Hadn't played it down on varsity yet outside of special teams. Goes in there, goes in the backside A gap, makes 2 tackle for losses back to back. That's what we're about. That was the cool part. So good thing is we do have some depth that if our guys cramp, we can try to keep that situation from happening where they attack that said position.
Look,
but we're one of the fortunate teams in the area to be able to do that. Not everybody can do that.
Well, let me back up a little bit. So we go into halftime, and I don't care about the technical stuff right here. And I know that I know you, and I know how your thought process. But you go into halftime, they have all the momentum. We come out in the third quarter, and they've got, and you can see the actual pep in their step, and they played really well in the third quarter. Our defense really bowed their neck. Instead of giving up 2 touchdowns, we gave up 2 field goals.
Yeah, and once again, it's called challenging players. You put the ball in their hands and say, alignment, assignment, execution, do what we're coached to do. Stop getting inside your own head, right? Pay attention to what the tips we give you, okay? Because that's football. We responded well to it, giving up field goals, but we got to do a better job staying on the field on third down offensively. We got to do a better job of getting off the field on certain third downs on defense. But the positive is we're only 2 weeks in.
Right.
That's the positive to that.
Jonathan, who are some of those players that, you mentioned the kid being called up. What was his name again from the JVs?
Carter Purvis, number 40.
Carter Purvis. And what are the other kids that were out there that stepped up on the defensive side of the football?
You know what? Dustin Moore, number 50. I look up and I was like, oh, man, he's at right end, or our right end defensively, offensively, left hand. And he's out there playing going one-on-one with their left tackle and doing well. Because I'm going back and forth on offense and defense on the headset, so I didn't know he got subbed in. And that was awesome to see. I mean, genuinely awesome to see. Our starting left tackle has not played defense this year. He's, for certain reasons, say it that way, nothing he did.
Right.
And, when push comes to shove, they're like, hey, you just had a 10-play drive offensive. Hey, we need to stop on defense. You're going in now. Doesn't bat an eye, and he goes. And that's David Bowman. That's how this group of guys are, genuinely. You can tell they've bought into the culture that we speak about, love the brother beside you. I saw a thing from Deion Sanders 2 weeks ago, I guess. And I told him, I said, guys, I don't literally mean this. Got to preference that. I don't literally mean this. Deion did because there was a fight at their practice. But I love the saying, if one fight, we all fight. Right? And that's so we're, once again, not literally, but meaning have your brother's back. Because we can call whatever pump protection or kickoff return or pass or run play or run or pass defense. All you got is the other 10 guys plus yourself.
Right.
We can't do it for you. So they've bought into that. So we do have a lot of guys step up. Excuse me. KJ goes. He has to come out with a cramp. Sam Decker, he hurt his ankle a few weeks ago. Hadn't been playing offense. Just all right. Sam, you're in. Let's go. Doesn't miss a beat. Knows the plays. He pays attention in practice. So stuff like that's really cool to see because we had to put him in a big moment. And the good thing is we're not afraid to do that, though. We're not afraid to throw our whoever in the moment. And Bridger Jones, he didn't play last week, and this week he played tight end and slot receiver as the positions, which are 2 different letters. And he had to remember which letter he was when he was in the game, depending on the situation. People don't understand how hard that is, genuinely, as a player. To go, oh, one play I'm the Y, one play I'm the F, right? Oh, which one I am because the formation dictates differently. So for the kids to do that stuff after, being able to do it in the second game is tremendous.
And so that takes us to the fourth quarter, 23-14, and it's not looking very good for the.
You're just too pessimistic.
Who owns the fourth quarter?
So
5 guys up front for Tuscola. That's who.
That's right.
That's right. So take us through the first drive, and let me say this again. Man, those 5 guys up front. Number 8 triggering the football, Mr. West, Langley. But man, I love me some Jonas Howard. I love me some Jonas Howard.
Jonas is tough as nails. I mean,
And
genuinely.
and man, and Bryant and all these kids stepped up. So take us through the first drive to kind of get us back in the game.
Well, it's not really drive by drive when it comes to me, when it comes to a quarter. Certain things happen because we're trying to, yes, you want to score on every play, but you're also trying to set up the rest of the quarter. You're trying to set up how we're going to do certain things on the next drive if things don't work out, or if they do work out, how we're going to play defensively or those things. So I think our guys responded well to what we were doing because, once again, we found a formation and this certain type of run that we could manipulate what they did defensively. When we get 6 in the box and you get 5 plus an overhang, that's I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but mathematics, that's +1 to us. And to get our big boys moving. So that's the good part. There's one play I wish I could have back from the whole game, but hindsight's 2020. It's all good. The throw, or not the throw, but the drive leading up to the 49-yard touchdown and get a timeout. Just getting the huddle and say, guys, it's what we live for. We've battled back, right? I can't use the words I used. Try to be politically correct on the show. I told him I'm hard on you every day. I push you to your limit every day at practice in the weight room. All of our coaches do. It's nothing we've never done. Just trust me. So if you want to be honest with you, that play, it's a multitude of like 4 different plays in one that we not drew up, but found a way to, exploit what they were doing. We've never paired the front side with that motion and the back side together with that type of protection all in one play. So the trust that they have in us as coaches, that's what that fourth quarter was. Right.
The trust that you all have in them.
Well, no, exactly. But, with we put it, the pass to Jonas for the touchdown, we put in this, not the concept, but the motion and the formation all together to run that into the boundary. We put that in this week. Jonas did a great job tight roping. And then the play to Bryant right out of the timeout was look him in his eye. I said, "You ready?" And you don't have to say anything. When you get a look back, it's going to work. Challenge Sy Jackson, number 19. Do not let anybody come off the edge here. We got to be able to step up in the pocket and let this thing go. He goes, "Yes, sir." Stuff like that you can't teach. And so when we drew the play up, as soon as the motion happened, I was like, guys, we got the look back side. Like as soon as the ball snapped, and I say I'm old and beat up. I'm not old, but I am beat up. I don't think I've ran faster in the past 7 years than I did running down the sideline as soon as the ball was in the air, because all the faith in Bryant to come down with that catch in the end zone to take the lead. That's the fourth quarter for us. Not all this other technical terms. 2 plays that our guys are like, we believe in this. We believe in our system. And I've told them from day one, we're going to throw the ball to get up and we're going to end it in the trenches. All right. Well, where'd we end the game on offense and defense? In the trenches. Defensively, in that last drive, we ended it in the trenches. That's the definition of our team, that fourth quarter right there.
The the entire game, again, for the second weekend a row to start the season, your quarterback targeted 6 guys. You have the balls are being spread. It's not
Yep.
2 guys that are dominating the catch, the pass and catch
Mm-hmm.
of the game. You got 6 people. So if you're a receiver, you're going to get some balls targeted.
Oh, yeah. No, exactly. And we were talking about this on the way back last night with the coaches. The positive is we've got 2 more games in a bye week before conference. In our mind, we're sitting there going, damn, we could be scary going into conference because that's 3 more weeks with Jed and the receivers. We've progressed from camp to week 1. We made a big jump from week 1 to week 2. Now we just got to keep progressing. The good thing is, I can promise you this: they're not settling, right? The locker room's not going to settle. The ability by Jed to have conversations of protections, and if we get this, I see this, we could really check to this, that type of stuff. If you look the 2-point conversion at the end, we've ran the play before. We didn't have it in the game plan this week. Actually, both 2-point conversions he got. We didn't have the play in this week, and he was able to check it and, opposite, going away from certain things you want to see look defensively that we just talked about on the sideline, that he's smart enough to be able to see that protection-wise. I don't have to call a protection. He knows the protections because he studies, and we trust him. He trusts us, and he puts us in the right situation as a coach. That is a great feeling. I'll just let you know that. That's a great feeling when you got somebody back there that knows what you're wanting because you have conversations with each other about it. So he knows what to look for, and then you call the play, and he calls the protection for you and puts the back in the right spot if there's a motion. So he knows what to look for. That's where I'm encouraged about the futures. I think we got a chance to be pretty dangerous offensively for sure.
You had you finished with Gavin Langley with 102 yards on the ground, 20 carries, and the 20 carries is what I'm bleeding to. 20 carries in that heat, humidity, mugginess, and he's toting the rock 20 times.
But what you don't know is that he was sick for the first 2 days of practice and lost 10 pounds.
No, we didn't know that because you keep it CIA secret, Coach Bill.
I told you now.
Okay, but you combined. You had 4 guys toting the rock, and Gavin, with his 20 carries. You had almost 200 yards, close to 200 yards rushing compared to their 58. And this is probably, you talk about you're going to, come out throwing, but you're going to end the game in the trenches. Was Jed, in your mind, protected by the offensive line throughout the whole game?
Well, there's always going to be stuff that you want back. There's always a couple, that's football. We're never going to grade out 100%. I think for the most part, our guys did well. Just a couple little things here and there. When you watch the film, just a few minor details, and we throw for 320. But once again, it's week 2. That's where I'm very encouraged, because if there's a kid that's going to take it internally personal without having to be talked to, it's number 8. That's for sure.
Well, I think that the thing for me, the number one, we sure traveled well last night, didn't we?
Yep.
What about those fans coming all the way from Waynesville in the 100-degree heat and sitting out there in the sun, unshaded, and
there's no cover at Polk. That is for sure.
Yeah, and what about those folks in the stands? The cheerleaders were magnificent last night, as always.
Mr. Connard, our principal, showing up at like 5:40.
Yeah, and
that's
his
awesome.
dad, my buddy.
That's what I'm saying. That was awesome. And from what I was told, is on the deep ball to Bryant. Apparently, he was up in the top row just going crazy, How many principals do you see celebrating like that with fans and stuff? That's where everybody's bought into what we're doing at Tuscola, is because it starts at the top, and he's at the top, and his personality and his leadership just trickles down.
Is it a work in progress, changing the culture, or is it you guys have turned the corner on the culture at Tuscola?
Well, culture is a never-ending thing.
Got it.
I can tell you this, from my standpoint, everybody, they've bought in. They've wanted stability. They've wanted passion, so to speak. And, maybe I'm a little biased on this one, but it's what they're going to get. You know what I mean? I mean, from myself, I mean, I can hardly walk on Saturday mornings because of just being a big kid running up on the sidelines. I've got bad ankles and, from some injuries, but that's, the kids now have learned that it's okay to also laugh and joke, and kind of poke the bear a little bit. And they know that I hurt, but by God, I'm not going to stop, and they bought into that. So it's, after a big play, hey, coach, how you good? Shut up. Like, don't talk to me right now. I can't even think I'm hurting so bad, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a never ending deal, but they see that the passion that's there, once again, not just for me, but our school, Mr. Connard, all the way down to teachers, right? All the coaches at every sport, just the passion they have for the Power T. And that was awesome. Genuinely seeing that we travel. I mean, anytime you got to deal with I-26, it deters me. I'll just say that. You know what I'm saying? Genuinely. But the way we traveled, knowing they got to deal with I-26 traveling, was awesome last night.
It was awesome. It was amazing to see. And let me give credit here where credit is due. Both teams played their guts out.
Yeah. Oh no. Hey, Polk's going to be. Polk's going to make some noise in their conference and in the playoffs. Yeah. I think because
their quarterback is good. Those two kids, those receivers are good. But man, there was not a kid on both sides that didn't leave everything they had on that field. I don't care that it's the second game of the year. I don't care that they say it's a non-conference game. What you saw last night, if you love football, if you doubt, and Chuck and I have this conversation all the time, especially when we talk about our baseball stuff, kids today, are not like they used to be. We walk 10 miles to school, that type of
uphill both ways.
Yeah, there were 22.
I heard it my whole life.
Let me tell you, 22 kids left every ounce of their soul.
Yeah.
On that football field.
That's what me and their coach, Coach Fry, were talking about last night. That's what you. Unfortunately, somebody's got to lose every game. That's just part of it, right? And a game like that both teams played well enough to win. Do you know what? Good for us for coming out on the winning side. But those games, from our standpoint, probably not the fans, but from our standpoint, are more fun than the 55-0 blowout. Because how much work you put in all week, right? Where you game plan, you watch hours of film, you're thinking of every scenario, and then the game's quote unquote over at halftime. You know what I mean? Like, that's, don't get me wrong. I'm never going to complain with those. But ones that come down to the end, you really find out a lot about your team, a lot about your coaching staff, a lot about yourself. And that was, hey, excuse the language, that was fun as hell last night. Genuinely.
Emotional.
It was, and getting the first win in Tuscola history against Polk, that's pretty special too.
And you know what? I never knew that until Mr. Fiebernetz told me that on a Thursday night. And somebody told me it was 0-4, and Chuck told me it was 0-5. And I believe the 0-5 because when Chuck tells me, I know that it's that it's been researched. But again, I cannot go and emphasize enough about the character of the kids on both teams, but the character and the courage in the fourth quarter of those kids in that white uniform.
Oh yeah. Hey, and let's call it like it is. That white on white looked good.
Yes.
with our black QB towels.
Oh yeah. You had it going on last night.
So got to get people healed up, got to get people hydrated. And that's the reason I just want everybody to know that I got really upset last night at a certain head coach because I said, hey, we got to have our players. Let's go. We got to have them down here. Let's go, go, go. They're going to be on the show. And you looked me dead in the eye and said, I will not ask my kids to get up at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning tomorrow after what they just did.
No.
They need to stay in bed. They need to stay off their feet.
Rest
they need
up.
to hydrate. They need to get healed up. They'll be here. We got all year to put them on this show. Last night, they have nothing else to give.
Nope.
So I apologize to you.
They earned their pizza and the charter bus ride home. We'll say it that way. Okay. I promise you this: that air condition, that was nice on the way home. That's for sure. It hit a little different after a win. That's for sure.
And you guys rode around in that bus because of this community.
That's exactly right. I'll say this: I was told, I got a text, and then once again, like you just said, it goes to our community for helping what we're doing and building from a program standpoint. I was told that apparently some of their student section was mumbling after the game, not in a negative way, going, well, we knew we were going to lose. Look what they rolled up in there. Look at their bus. That's
it's little things.
Exactly. Well, but it's because the kids deserve. Nobody understands unless you've played the game. You don't understand how hard but the physical side, but the mental side as well of football game is on these players at this age. And I promise you, especially the stuff that I'm asking them to do. Right. I mean, I promise you, I'm adjusting during the game. So we're adding stuff randomly during the game and they pick it up. So the mental aspect that they have to go through, as well as the physical, it's never going to be easy. And by God, they've done it better than any, I've been retired and coaching for the past, 6 years now. And it's at this point, the quickest, including professionally, that a team's done it just because of the buy-in. And that says a lot because I've been around a couple really good organizations, so to speak.
Just a couple.
Mm-hmm. Just a few.
Well, it ended 155 on the ground, 177 in the air, 332 yards total offense compared to their 300. So you not only the stats showed that you were a better football team, but the scoreboard also. So where do you go from here, Jonathan? You're 1-1. You played well in both games against tough opponents. And now you got McDowell County coming up. You got to be on the road. Where do you go from here with your team, having gone through the stressful 2 weeks, first two games?
0-0, back to the drawing board.
Got it.
I mean, that's the crazy part about football is, it's a physical game, and the stuff that I ask them to do is a lot of mental. So back to square one this week. Every Saturday is back to square one for us coaches, and every Monday is a heavy install day for the players. But the part that I find very, very, very encouraging is, these are, depending on their grade, 14 or 15 up to 17, 18-year-old kids, keyword kids. And they'll message us and go, hey, coach, when's the film up? I want to get ready for next week. I mean, go enjoy your weekend. You know what I mean? Like, be a teenager. The want to get better and the want to continue to learn the game of football is so high. And that's what I love about it. I mean, and I say this in a funny way, they bugged the crap out of me about when the film's going to be up, when the game plan is going to be ready to be talked about. That's a good thing. That is a great problem to have. You know what I mean? So to answer your question, we go back to square one, revisit everything we do and game plan against McDowell. I mean, they're going to be a tough team. They got 1,850 kids or something like that in the school. So their sidelines are going to triple ours. We'll be outmanned right out of the gate. Hostile environment on the road. But you know what? Like I asked him before the game, what better place to play than on the road and try to go get a W, right? Just we can't control it, so we might as well go soak it up and do what we do, and then in 2 weeks we'll be back home in front of our home crowd.
And I think the great thing is, I guess for you guys, not for us and everybody that sitting in the stands, and you guys have not played the Little Sisters of the Poor. You got a tough. You got 2 more weeks of tough stuff before we even think about the conference. So you can look at that in is a negative or a positive, but I go back to
I'll never look at that as a negative. From my standpoint, that's doing nothing but getting our kids ready for, obviously we got to take care of our business week to week, but once we can get into the playoff type run and try to, we got to get in. It does nothing but prepare you for that, for the teams you're going to play, hopefully in the 3rd and 4th round each year. You know what I mean? You're only going to play really good teams at that point. I mean, I don't think we're going to play a team as athletic as Asheville the whole season. And that's not a slight on anybody who play. It's just Asheville's got athletes at every position. On all 3 phases of the game. So that helps. So playing teams like that early, I think, help you late in the year because you've already experienced that adversity. Then you go down to Polk, and every time I've been to Polk, something happens. I was messing with them last night at the game. I was like, guys, there's like a force field. The radios go out, the cameras just shut off. Like, I don't know what happens. And it's both teams though. So, facing that adversity, because when that happens in the playoffs, you don't want to freak out. We just adapt and move on, right? So we've already experienced those things. Then traveling back down the mountain to McDowell, nobody ever wants back-to-back road games. But that's a good thing early in the year to play now a big 4A team, right? We're playing 2 4As, a 2A and a 1A team that all have legitimate chance to make noise depending on how their season goes with injuries in their respective division, so to speak. So that's what it's about to me. And our kids love that. I don't want to play the 55-0 games in non-conference personally. Obviously, I'd love to do that against a really good team. I'd love to shut out a team that is going to be a 3-round or more playoff team. But I mean, anybody would want that.
Hey, Jonathan, we got like 12 minutes left, and just to go over, you can take a sip of your coffee, but we want to go.
I've already finished it.
Well,
Orchard coffee.
But I'm gonna go over the scoring and stats of the kids, so we get all the kids, names on here.
But we got to make sure we say this is unofficial. We haven't officially tallied. That'll be done tonight.
Statistics. This is unofficial. We'll be close, but Gavin Langley was a 14-yard run at 9:53 mark in the first quarter. The pass failed. Then the second quarter, Jed West, a 2-yard run at the 8:50 mark, and then he converted the 2-point conversion. And then in the fourth quarter, you had Jonas Howard, a 19-yard pass and catch from West at the 11:23 mark, and Christopher Wells, the PAT, split the uprights. And then you had Bryant Onasia, 49-yard pass that you spoke about from West. And then West ran in the 2-point conversion at 7:02, and your defense, got hung up, not hung up, but the defense stood strong against the final 7 minutes. So finally is that in the stat department rushing, Gavin Langley finished with 20 carries, 102 yards. Jed West, 8 carries, 66 yards. Cooper Williamson, what we were mentioning in the first 2 weeks, 4 carries and 15 yards. KJ Vang, 1 carry, and then the team that punt turned into the snafu on the punt was a minus 29 yards. That counts against your rushing, which is 155 yards. Passing, Jed West was 13 for 19, 177 yards, and that's about just under 68% of his passes. So he's getting better too. And if you total up his 66 yards running, that's 243 yards in total offense, which puts him probably around 533 yards in total offense in the first two games. Receiving the ball, Jonas Howard, 5 catches for 63 yards. Bryant Onasia, 2 catches for 50 yards. KJ Vang, 2 catches for 31. Bridget Jones, 2 catches, 21, who you highlighted. And then Saeed Jackson, 1 catch for 8 yards. And Cooper Williamson, also a catch. So,
and I know, Jonathan, you don't talk about injuries, but Saeed, are his feet any better, without going into detail, because that kid is a warrior.
Yes, but I don't talk about.
That's all. Okay. I
give
just
you the
love
wink.
that kid.
I'll give you a wink on camera.
Again, it was a good night against a tough opponent, Polk County, that put Tuscola up until Friday night had never beaten Polk County. They were 0-5. Now they're 1-5.
There you go.
Congratulations on your first win as a head football coach.
I appreciate it.
And that comes from my brother too, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, and
Well,
I do. I get messages and stuff as this show goes on, and I do have a question from the peninsula of Michigan near Flint, and from a certain Mr. Kevin, and this is a real legitimate question. As you have started this journey as you're with the head coach, what has been the biggest eye opener for you in coaching these kids, as far as from day one to today, as far not the football part, but just what's been the biggest thing that you've it's kind of opened your eyes? Because from afar,
in what way though?
For me, from afar, it's just just watching the quality of these kids and their work ethic and
I mean, like, it's what goes back to what I was talking about earlier. They're teenagers. They want stability. They want to be coached. There's a difference, and I'll go to my grave believing this. There's a difference between telling and teaching. I can tell you all day long, but can I teach you? Can I teach you why we're doing XYZ? Can I teach you why they're lining up like this for this tendency? Or do I just tell you? Maybe I'm a little biased, but I think our staff does a pretty damn good job of teaching rather than telling. And I think the kids believe that. Like I said, they've bought in from my standpoint, because they understand I'm going to let their personality be seen. You know what I mean? There's a time and a place, obviously. And they know that, though. But I'm going to let their personality come out. That's football. It's a different generation. It's a different time. It can't just be right here all the time. It can't be, well, I don't smile. I don't do this. I don't do this. I can't do this, blah, 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 blah. Rather than be yourself. I'll reel you in when you need to.
Yeah. Because
but that's what I'm getting at. Like, that's where, I guess, to answer the question about what's the biggest eye opener, the biggest eye opener is they're teenagers and they just want to be loved on, right? They want to be coached hard. They want to be understood. And to me, that's the fun part, is letting them understand. There's a 100% chance I'm going to get flagged at some point this year. I'm just telling you now, because of just being a big kid. I'm in the end zone when we score, freaking celebrating with the kids. That is illegal, in case you're wondering. But they see that. They see that it's not just everybody stay back. You can't do this. You can't do this. I'll reel you in, right? Go be yourself. You can tell that again, they're teenagers. They want that. They want to be themselves. That's been the biggest eye opener to me.
I go back in like it's lit. It's the thing about, and that's the part I'm very proud of because you're better than me at that. Is I'm kind of the old school guy still in certain ways, but like and watch his face when those hideous shoes. I hate them. But your
Oh,
kids,
hold on. By the way, no, listen. You hate my game day shoes, is what it is. I
yeah,
like them. The kids like them. Don't care.
that's what I'm saying.
Hey,
Your
hold
kids
on.
basically
Hold on.
said,
Hold on. Hear me out. This was the funniest thing that happened to me last night. Houston McCracken, by the way. Me and him are shoe guys. What's up? But during right near the last time out, I can't remember if it was the last one or the one before the last one. The back judge comes up to me, and there was a flag, and then there was a timeout after. But there was a yellow towel on the field, and he's bringing it over there. And he goes, "Coach, your shoes have been screwing with me all night." And I was like, you know what? My plan worked. There's no white; they're just black and yellow, and I'm talking about bright yellow.
"Oh,
And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take that as a compliment. I appreciate you noticing my shoes, man. You know that's what I'm saying. Is like the kids want to see a coach that has a personality as well. Sometimes mine's a little out there.
yeah." But your kids, basically, it's my understanding that they had a big influence on because they wanted you to have those things, those shoes.
Yeah, gaudy. Why not?
And they had a big influence. And again, let them be kids.
Exactly.
So
Well,
anyway,
that's but they've seen that we're going to do that. That's where, and once again, it's not just football. The whole school, they're teenagers. Reel them in when we need to reel them in, but they can have a personality. And the football players have learned that's how we're going to do it. But understanding, and they know when it's time to go. But doing that's how they also buy into paying attention when we're teaching, not just telling them to do stuff. Asking them to repeat back what we said so they can make sure they understand it, because I can say it in a different way. You know what I mean? I want you to understand. I don't want you just to memorize. We want them to know football. That's the goal. As a coach, if that's not your goal, you're in the wrong business. And our staff wants the kids to know why we're doing things for, as far as schematics.
Well, that question came from a Hall of Fame high school soccer coach, my brother, in the state of Michigan with 820 wins. And I will tell you, I've been around my brother a long time. You two, you and my brother Kevin, speak the same language. And so the future is very bright for you here at Tuscola High School.
Well, I appreciate that. And, honestly, I'm having fun. I'm a big kid. I mean, Junior, I'm just a big kid. That's all. To me, that's what it's about.
So we're going to move on. We're going to get ready to get off here because I know you've got game planning. You got a lot of work to do. I know that Coach Matthews is, when you talked about teaching, I bet your Coach Matthews is probably sitting there with the biggest smile on his face right now and going, all that work was worth it when he said, "Trust me, Coach, I'm throwing deep." But anyway, on to McDowell. Big week. I know that the kids are going to enjoy this, but come probably this afternoon, your phone's probably going to blow up because now it's time to get on to the next one.
It already has.
Congratulations to the Mountaineer Nation. Congratulations to those kids. I cannot tell you how emotional I was. Just forget the score, forget all that. But in the fourth quarter, the character, the class, the commitment to your team, to the T.
Yep.
Because that T means something. It means more than you. And
well, then before we get off, the one thing, and I think this is probably one of the best things that a coach could ever get told by a player, specifically challenged a player at halftime and in the offensive huddles, because I know what type of ball player he is, what type of kid he is, and the want and the work ethic that he has, Josh Kruger. And after the game, comes up and gives me a hug and goes, "Coach, don't stop challenging me. I'm here for it." Like that. That's what it's about, because the reality is he is a hell of a ball player. He's an even better kid, but he's a hell of a ball player. And that's, like I told him, I'm not going to stop it, because if I stop, that means I've given up on you. It ain't going to happen. That is not going to happen in our program. So that was what was so cool about last night, is he took it in stride. He didn't take it personal, because it wasn't personal, and he knew it. He goes, "Coach, I promise you, I will always take the message, not the tone, because it's just what it is." And that's what, it's, again, they want to be taught. They want to be, I don't care what anybody says. It's okay. It is okay to tell a kid he did a good job. It is. It's okay to be like, "Man, that's a hell of a play. I don't know how you did it." That's not bad. It's not, this is not the old times when, even when I grew up, where it was beat them down to build them up. Well, why do we got to build them down? Why can't we just elevate from where we're at? And I think our kids have learned that's how we're going to do it in our program at Tuscola. And luckily that they enjoy being a part of our program. I'll say it that way.
Good.
Mr. Fiebernet, what you got before we go, bud?
Well, McDowell, upcoming, just one final question. Do you have a game plan set right now in your mind for McDowell?
The funny part is, yeah, I have an idea of where I want to go with it.
You tried.
Congratulations on your first win.
And Chuck and I will be back with the David and Chuck show Tuesday night at 7:30. We've got a really special guest with us. Before we get off here, and Tyler, and I want to make it's Offhammer. I believe I pronounced Tyler's last name right, from the Mountaineer, the sports editor. He's your former job. Will be with us live on Tuesday night to talk about what we just saw and a lot of other things. Thank you, Mountaineer Nation. I was genuinely moved to see the response last night, because it could have been very negative, and by golly, it wasn't. And kudos, but most importantly, kudos to those kids.
Yep.
And kudos to the staff. And let's, on to the next, because yesterday can't do anything about. Let's go get them Friday night. Jonathan, you got anything to say to the nation before we go?
Well, one, thank you for traveling like you do for our fans, but congratulations to this team to go down in Tuscola history for being the first team to beat Polk. That's always special when you can say, "Hey, I was the first one," because hopefully many more to come, but nobody can ever take away they were the first ones.
That's it. See you guys Tuesday night. Jonathan, go to work. I would say you go get rest, but that's just not going to happen. Go Mountaineers, and see you guys next week.